Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to Easy English Class. I'm Marco.
And I'm Erika. I'm excited about today's lesson because we're exploring present simple tense. This tense is absolutely essential for describing daily routines, habits, and general facts about our lives.
Before we start, please subscribe to Easy English Class and hit that notification bell. Today we're demonstrating present simple through conversation about our daily routines and habits. If this lesson helps you understand this grammar point, please give us a thumbs up and share it with your English learning friends.
Present simple is the tense we use for habits, routines, general truths, and permanent situations. We form it with the base verb, but remember to add es or es for third person singular. He, she, it. For example, I work every day, but she works every day.
Exactly. We often use frequency adverbs like always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, and never with present simple. Today, Erica and I will share our daily routines using lots of present simple examples, so listen carefully and notice the patterns.
Let's start with our morning routines, Marco. What time do you usually wake up? And what's the first thing you do in the morning? I'm curious about your habits because everyone has different preferences.
I typically wake up at 6:30 every weekday morning because I like to start early. The first thing I do is drink a large glass of water. I always keep a bottle by my bed because it helps rehydrate your body after sleep. Then I immediately make my bed because it gives me a sense of accomplishment.
That's such a healthy way to begin. My morning routine is quite different from yours. I usually wake up at 7 o'clock, and I never drink water immediately. Instead, I make coffee first because I simply can't function without caffeine. I always make strong espresso, and I often add a little milk to make it smoother.
Coffee is definitely important for many people. After my water and bed making, I always do light stretching exercises for about 10 minutes. These stretches really help me feel more awake and energized. Do you exercise in the morning, Erica, or do you prefer other times?
I rarely exercise in the morning because I'm not naturally a morning person, but I always try to do some physical activity later in the day. After my coffee, I usually check my phone for about 5 minutes to see urgent messages. I know some people say this is bad, but it helps me feel connected before starting work.
Everyone has different morning habits. After stretching, I always take a shower because it helps me feel completely awake and ready. I usually spend about 15 minutes getting ready, brushing teeth, washing face, and styling hair. What about your morning preparation routine?
My morning routine takes longer because I'm quite particular about appearance. I always take a shower, but I prefer evening showers. So mornings I just wash my face with cold water. I spend about 20 minutes on my skincare routine because I believe it's important to take care of your skin.
Skincare is definitely important. Now let's talk about breakfast. I think this is where people's routines vary most. I usually eat a simple but nutritious breakfast because I believe it's the most important meal. I often have oatmeal with fresh fruit like bananas or berries and sometimes add honey for natural sweetness.
I have a completely different approach to breakfast. I rarely eat a big meal in the morning because I don't feel very hungry when I first wake up. I usually just have coffee and maybe toast with avocado if I'm feeling hungry. Sometimes I skip breakfast entirely and just drink coffee until lunchtime.
It's interesting how different people's bodies work differently. After breakfast, I always prepare for work by organizing my bag and checking my schedule for the day. I usually leave the house around 8:15 because I like arriving early. I often walk to work when the weather is nice because it takes 20 minutes and gives me good exercise.
I admire your organization. My morning preparation is often more rushed because I tend to procrastinate. I usually leave the house at the last possible moment, around 8:45, and I always take public transportation because I live too far to walk. I often read news articles or listen to podcasts during my commute to make the time productive.
Commuting time can definitely be used productively. Now let's talk about our work routines since we spend so much of our day at work. I usually start my workday by checking emails and making a to do list for the day. I often have meetings in the morning because I find that people are more focused and energetic before lunch.
My work routine is quite structured because I work better with clear schedules. I always start by reviewing my calendar and prioritizing my most important tasks. I usually do my most challenging work in the morning when my brain is fresh, and I save easier tasks like answering emails for later when my energy levels naturally decrease.
That's a smart strategy. I usually take a coffee break around 10:30 because I find that I need a little boost to maintain concentration. I often chat with colleagues during this break because it helps me feel more connected to my team. Do you take regular breaks during your workday?
I definitely take breaks because I learned that they actually improve productivity. I usually take a short break every hour or two, sometimes just to stand up and stretch, and sometimes to have a quick conversation with a colleague. I often eat a small snack around 10 o'clock, usually an apple or nuts, because I get hungry between breakfast and lunch.
Healthy snacking is important for maintaining energy. Let's talk about lunch routines because this is another area where people have very different habits. I usually eat lunch at exactly 12:30 because I like to maintain a consistent schedule. I often bring lunch from home because it's healthier and more economical than buying food every day.
I'm much less consistent with my lunch timing. I sometimes eat as early as 11:30 if I'm really hungry, and sometimes I don't eat until 1:30 if I'm busy with work. I rarely bring lunch from home because I enjoy exploring different restaurants and cafes near my office. I often try new cuisines because I love discovering different flavors.
Exploring different foods sounds enjoyable. During lunch, I usually eat with colleagues because I think it's important to maintain social connections at work. We often discuss both work related topics and personal interests. After eating, I sometimes take a short walk around the building or nearby park because fresh air helps me feel refreshed for the afternoon.
I like your approach to lunch breaks. I usually eat alone because I enjoy having some quiet time in the middle of the day to recharge. I often read a book or browse articles on my phone while eating because I find it relaxing. Sometimes I call a friend or family member during lunch to stay connected with people outside of work.
Both social and solo lunch approaches have their benefits. Now let's discuss our afternoon work routines. I usually have my most productive period right after lunch, around 2 o'clock, because I feel energized after eating and taking a break. I often schedule important calls or tackle complex projects during this time when my focus is strongest.
Afternoons are actually my least favorite part of the workday because I often feel tired around 3 o'clock. I think many people experience this natural energy dip. I usually drink green tea instead of coffee in the afternoon because caffeine late in the day sometimes affects my sleep. I often save routine tasks for this time and leave creative work for when I'm more alert.
That afternoon energy dip is very common. I usually finish work around 5:30, and I always try to leave the office on time because I believe work-life balance is crucial for happiness and health. I often feel a sense of satisfaction when I complete my to-do list and can transition from work mode to personal time.
I completely agree about work life balance. I usually work until 6 o'clock, but I sometimes stay later if I have urgent deadlines. I always try to finish my most important tasks before leaving because I don't like to worry about work when I'm at home. My commute home usually takes about 30 minutes, and I often listen to music or call friends during this time.
The transition from work to personal time is so important. When I get home, I usually change into comfortable clothes immediately because it helps me mentally shift from work mode to relaxation mode. I often spend a few minutes just sitting quietly and reflecting on the day before starting my evening activities.
I have a similar transition ritual. I always change clothes and wash my face when I get home because it helps me feel refreshed after a long day. I usually check my mail and tidy up my living space a bit because I find that a clean environment helps me relax better. Sometimes I water my plants if they need it because taking care of them brings me joy.
Evening routines are so personal and varied. I usually cook dinner around 7 o'clock because I enjoy cooking and find it therapeutic after a day of mental work. I often try new recipes on weekdays and stick to familiar dishes when I'm tired. I rarely order takeout during the week because I prefer home cooked meals for health and budget reasons.
I have a different approach to dinner. I sometimes cook elaborate meals when I have energy and time, but I often order food delivery when I'm tired or busy. I usually eat around 7:30 or 8 o'clock because I like to unwind a bit after work before eating. I often watch cooking shows while eating because I find them entertaining and sometimes get ideas for future meals.
Food delivery certainly has its place in busy modern life. After dinner, I usually clean the kitchen immediately because I don't like leaving dishes until the next day. Then I often read for about 30 minutes because it helps me relax and learn new things. I sometimes watch documentaries or educational videos because I enjoy learning about different topics.
I admire your discipline with cleaning. I often leave dishes until the next morning because I prefer to relax immediately after eating. I usually spend my evenings watching TV series or movies because I find them entertaining and a good way to unwind. I sometimes call family members or video chat with friends who live far away because evenings are when everyone is usually free.
Staying connected with family and friends is so important. I usually go to bed around 10:30 because I need about 8 hours of sleep to feel rested the next day. Before sleeping, I often write in a journal for a few minutes to reflect on the day and plan for tomorrow. I always read for 10 or 15 minutes in bed because it helps my mind transition to sleep mode.
I wish I went to bed as early as you do. I usually stay up until 11:30 or midnight because I'm naturally a night person and feel most creative in the evening. I often do personal projects like writing, drawing, or learning new skills during this time because my mind feels most active. I sometimes regret staying up late when my alarm rings the next morning, but I enjoy having this personal time.
Night owls and early birds both have their advantages. Now let's talk about how our routines change on weekends. I usually wake up later on Saturday and Sunday around 8 or 8:30 because I don't set an alarm and let my body wake up naturally. I often spend weekend mornings reading newspapers and drinking coffee slowly because I enjoy having unhurried time.
Weekends are definitely different for me too. I usually sleep in until 9 or 9:30 because it's my chance to catch up on sleep after busy weekdays. I often stay in pajamas for a few hours and drink coffee while browsing social media or reading articles online. Sometimes I don't get dressed until noon because I enjoy having lazy mornings without any schedule pressure.
Lazy weekend mornings are wonderful. I usually do household chores on Saturday mornings because I like to get them done early and have the rest of the weekend free. I often grocery shop, do laundry, and clean the house during this time. I sometimes listen to music or podcasts while doing chores because it makes them more enjoyable.
I have a different approach to weekend chores. I usually spread them throughout the weekend instead of doing everything on Saturday morning. I often do laundry on Saturday, but clean the house on Sunday. I sometimes ignore chores entirely if I have social plans because I prioritize spending time with friends and family over housework.
Both approaches work well depending on your personality. On weekend afternoons, I often meet friends for lunch or coffee because it's a great way to maintain relationships and catch up on each other's lives. I sometimes go to parks, museums, or cultural events because I enjoy learning and experiencing new things during my free time.
Social activities are so important for well-being. I usually make plans with friends or family on weekend afternoons too. We often go to restaurants, shopping centers, or entertainment venues like movie theaters or concerts. I sometimes organize gatherings at my home because I enjoy hosting people and creating a warm, welcoming environment.
Hosting friends sounds lovely. On Sunday evenings, I usually prepare for the upcoming week by organizing my clothes, checking my calendar, and sometimes doing meal prep for busy weekdays. I often feel a mix of relaxation from the weekend and anticipation for the new week ahead.
Sunday evening preparation is so helpful. I usually do similar preparation, though sometimes I procrastinate and leave everything until Monday morning. I often feel a bit sad that the weekend is ending, but I also feel motivated to start fresh with new goals and opportunities in the coming week.
Before we finish, let me summarize the present simple patterns we've used today for our viewers. We use present simple with frequency adverbs like always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, and never. Remember to add as or as for he, she, and it. For negative sentences, we use don't or doesn't plus the base form of the verb.
Those are the key patterns. Present simple is perfect for describing habits, routines, and general truths about our lives. The examples we shared today show how natural and useful this tense is for everyday communication. Practice describing your own routines using present simple, and you'll become much more fluent in expressing your daily life in English.
This has been such a comprehensive exploration of present simple through our daily routines. I hope our viewers now feel more confident using this essential tense to describe their own habits and schedules. Remember, everyone's routine is different, and that's what makes conversations interesting and personal.
Before we say goodbye, let's give our community a chance to practice. In the comments below, please describe one part of your daily routine using present simple. You could write about your morning routine, work habits, or evening activities. Use frequency adverbs and remember the grammar rules we discussed today.
We love reading your comments and seeing how you apply what we teach. Your practice helps reinforce the learning and creates a supportive community of English learners. Thank you so much for joining us today on Easy English Class.
Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell for our weekly grammar and conversation lessons. If this present simple lesson helped clarify this important tense, please share it with friends who are studying English grammar.
We'll see you next week for another essential English lesson. Until then, practice describing your daily routines and remember, consistency in both grammar practice and daily habits leads to great results. Take care, everyone.
Goodbye for now, and remember, your daily routine is unique and interesting, so don't be afraid to share it in English using present simple. Keep practicing, and we'll see you soon.